All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's another walk through the park on a Friday afternoon, and we're just gonna see what happens here. I'm at the usual spot that I've been doing these videos, and I'm just gonna sit here on this handy little bench swing. I see some people creeping up on me, but ain't no thing. We'll see what happens when they start moseying on this direction. And the sun wasn't out right up until I hit the button to record. Go figure. The lighting isn't what I want it to be. Nothing is perfect when it comes to these videos, and that, ironically, is the topic of today's video. The title of the video today is "Perfect is the Enemy of Done," and it applies to this video and pretty much everything else I'm doing right now, and it probably applies to a lot of things that you got going on in your own life. I'm perfect being trying to figure out how to position this camera and be comfortable for the next half hour or more, whatever it's going to be. There we go. I think I can sit like this and be comfy. There's a lot of wind today, so that'll give me that'll be a good indicator of whether this new microphone works or not. Once again, perfect being the enemy of done. The only way I'm gonna know is to try it out and find out. Perfect is the enemy of done. The point of these walk in the park videos for me, it's like a game I'm playing right now. I don't think about what I'm going to talk about. Wow, the wind is kicking up something fierce. Everything perfect being the enemy of done. The lighting was perfect, then it wasn't as soon as I hit the button. The wind was not really that bad until I tried to sit and record. It's just the nature is contributing to the theme. The point of these videos, as I've been doing them in the park here, going on these walks, I'm going out for my fitness. I'm going on a walk to get some exercise. I'm trying to work on my fitness from an overall perspective and not just riding a bicycle anymore. Trying to do lots of different things to get my body holistically healthy again. And we'll get there when we get there. But when I go on these walks in the park, one day I just decided, the first time I did it, I decided to pull out my phone and shoot a video. I wasn't planning on doing that when I left my house. It just seemed like, why not? I'm out here. It might be a good idea. And it's closing in on 1,000 views now, that video. And normally I'm getting like 100 views on a video lately. So that told me to keep doing it. And as I do these videos, I'm kind of making it a game to not think about what I'm going to talk about and not write anything down, not have any notes, and not even have a topic on hand to talk about until I go on the walk. I'll think of something, believe me, something will pop into my head. Today it popped into my head about an hour before the walk. And it was due to a situation that I'm in on a project that I'm working on for a client. And the client is, the project's basically done, but I could see myself having to work on it for 2 more months. That was my joke to him. Now that the project's done, is it going to be 2 more months before we're done? Because he's in this mental place of wanting everything to be perfect. And I'm in the place of, maybe we should get it done. And, oh my God, here we go. The weather was great until I sat down here. And now it's starting to rain. I don't know if I'm going to continue. It's going to stop raining. This is a temporary. This is so perfect for this video because nothing is going according to plan. Even though I didn't have a plan to begin with, and the whole topic of the video was perfect is the enemy of done. So I'm working, like I said, I'm working on a project The project has been done for over a week. It's a book. I could send it to the printer tomorrow, get it printed physically, and have it copies in hand. And we're just kind of waiting because just keeps wanting to fiddle with it. Tweak this, fix that, change this, change that. And I get it. The fact that it's a printed book that's going to be printed and held in somebody's hand creates more of a desire for perfection than, let's say, if it was a website, right? If it was a website, you find something you want to change, you find a misspelled word, something like that, you log in, you fix it, you hit save, refresh, it's done. Sometimes you got to go into the code, the source code, fix it there. But either way, it's a fixable thing. Minimal effort. It's not a tangible thing that you hold in your hand unless somebody took a screenshot or printed it or whatever. And that's on them. But this is something, this perfect is the enemy of done. This topic has been something that I've had to deal with my entire life. From the time I started being a professional creative for a living, it's something that I've struggled with my entire career. You know how when you go on a job interview, sometimes they'll ask you a question along the lines of, tell me some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses. So you want to answer that question about the weakness with something that's a weakness but makes you sound good. Like, if you're a teacher, you're a 6th grade teacher, and you want to say your strengths are, well, most of my kids get really good grades, pass their exams, and grow up to be productive members of society, blah, blah, blah. You wouldn't say for a weakness, well, I got in trouble for having sex with two of my 6th grade students. You might want to keep that one to yourself, right? And the only reason that popped into my head is because I just read a news article about a teacher that got sentenced to 10 years in prison for having sex with 2 of her students. And she was hot. And I just wonder, I'm like, where were these teachers when I was a kid? This was unheard of. Now it happens every week. I was born in the wrong time. I should have been born now, so I could experience the fun of having a hot 6th grade teacher that wanted me to stay after class for some, extra credit assignments. I feel like I was robbed. But back to the perfectionism thing. When I started out my career, I started out in printed media as a graphic designer. So things like, I did a lot of packaging design for big companies. Kodak, Rubbermaid, 2 of the ones that, Genesee Beer. Those are 3 of the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head. I've done catalog design, publications, magazines, ads, printed ads, point of purchase displays. Anything that could be printed on a printing press. And so you're drilled. Perfectionism is drilled into you heavily when you do that for a living. Why? Because a mistake, imagine spending $2 million on printing some packaging, and there's a misspelled word that stands right out. Somebody found it. Do you think the printing company's going to eat that $2 million and say, oh, we'll do it all over again? No, you, the one paying for that, you're the one that's eating that $2 million for having the misspelled word. Let's just say that you were trying to open a daycare center in Minnesota, and you came up with the name of the Learning Center. And let's say that you got all of your signs printed, your t-shirts, your ads, your cards, your business cards. And instead of the Learning Center, it said the Leering Center because somebody spelled the word learning wrong. Now you've got to reprint all of that stuff. So there is a place where perfectionism needs to be there. And if you're a graphic designer and you came through that path, it's drilled into your soul to check and double check and triple check, and everything gets quadruple checked over and over by 6 different people, 20 different people, constantly being checked. I've read this book for my client 20 times, easily, cover to cover, looking for problems, looking for anything wrong. Visual bugs, misspelled words, bad grammar, problems with the layout file, a page that has a page number that's not supposed to be visible, but it's there. All kinds, like a million different things I'm looking for. Anything that's going to be a problem the second somebody holds this book in their hand and goes, oh, I found a mistake. I'm trying to avoid that. But I also know that the second I get this printed book in my hand and I start thumbing through it, I'm going to find a problem. I'm going to find something. I know I am. Because you always do. But eventually you've just got to say enough and print the thing. And if you find a mistake, you fix it. The next time a batch goes to the printer, it'll be fixed, at least for the new copies of the book. And so I got into doing web design and software and things like that. And like I said earlier, if you have a misspelled word on the homepage of your website, it's embarrassing, but you can fix it, hit refresh, clear the cache. You're good to go. It's done. Some people might have seen it. Some people might have taken a screenshot. But, you've done what you can. You fixed it. It was quick, easy. Your attention to detail is going to slide a little bit on these kind of projects. And so this day and age, the age that we live in now, Gen X, when I was growing up, Generation X, by and large, from my experience and the experience of my fellow colleagues in my generation, we all agree that we were taught to do work with pride, quality, attention to detail. Those kinds of things matter. And those things are important. And now you're dealing with a culture shift. The younger generations are being raised that everything's disposable, nothing's permanent, just get it done. Quality doesn't matter anymore. Being first to the market matters more than quality. There's so many differences in the way people think today than they thought 20, 30 years ago when it came to creative projects or just about anything, really. Software design, for example. I'm just winging it today. Like I said, I have no plan. So I have things I've thought of as I'm walking. I'm 5 miles into a 7-mile hike. There's going to be things that I thought of that I'm going to forget to say in the video, and then I'm going to be on my way home going, oh, you forgot that one, Adam. Perfect is the enemy of done, once again. So if I sat there and wrote down a note every single time I came up with something and scripted this whole video out, then it would look like I was reading from a script and not speaking from the heart or speaking off the cuff. So it just lends, the style that I'm doing today, it just lends itself to how I'm doing it. It's not perfect. And so my experience as a graphic designer started out with perfectionism, being raised in a culture where you were told to do a good job, quality was important, attention to detail was important. Making mistakes was very much frowned upon. And now I'm in the graphic design business. Once again, that is being drilled in deep. So I start doing websites and software design for a living, but that's my culture. That's my upbringing, is the perfectionism. And now I'm in a field, I'm in a genre where nobody cares about quality. The quality isn't important. Do the bare minimum job that you can do to get people to pay you for it. There's a term in software design that blew my mind when I figured out what it means, and that's called MVP. MVP. Every time when I started in software, when I started in this gambit, I always heard people talking about the MVP, and I'm thinking, all right, the MVP, that's what I want. The MVP, baby. Because what's the MVP? It's the most valuable player. If your team plays in the Super Bowl and you win the Super Bowl, you get a ring. If you played in the game, you take that with you for the rest of your life. You got to hold the Super Bowl trophy. You got to be in the ticker tape parade. You got the ring. You got the bonuses. You got all the stuff that comes with it, the fast cars, the women, all of it. The contracts. You're a winner. But if you walk away from the Super Bowl with the Super Bowl trophy and the MVP trophy, that means you're the best player in the game. You're the best of the best. Your team was the best team, but you were the best player on the team. MVP. Well, in software, they have a term. It's MVP. And like I said, the first time I heard people saying this over and over again, I'm like, hell yeah, we want the MVP. Bring that MVP. I want the MVP trophy, baby. Yeah, let's do this. Well, it doesn't mean the same thing in software. In software, when you say MVP, it means minimum viable product. MVP, minimum viable product. It literally means the most bare bones, broken down piece of shit jalopy that you can do and still get paid for it. In terms of the NFL, it's the opposite of the MVP. In the NFL, it would be being on the last place team in the league and being a bench warmer who never plays in a game, who shows up in a uniform but sits on the bench the whole game. You're like the third string special teams guy, so that if the first two special teams guys get injured, then maybe you'll get to play in a game for a couple of minutes. Maybe your whole NFL career, you spent 2 minutes out on the field during a preseason game for the last place team in the league, and you were paid the league minimum. You got to tell people you played for the Detroit Lions, or who is the worst team? I don't even know. You got to play for the Detroit Lions or whoever the bad team was this year, and you were on the team, but you made the league minimum salary. I think the league minimum is like $250,000 lump sum payment at the beginning of the season. You got some expenses to go with that. Just, there's things that you got to pay for and do. You got to stretch that funding out for the year. But you're the MVP of software is the league minimum player making $250,000 a year to put on a uniform and never play the game, sit on the bench, maybe play 2 minutes in the preseason, and sit on the bench while your team gets to be last place in the league at the end of the season. That's the MVP of software. Just good enough to get paid. And so I had a problem with that. I mean, think about it. A guy who was raised on doing a good job, being told to give you the bare minimum piece of shit that you can get away with and move on, that was hard. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. And it still is to this day. That's why I despise working in software. And it just keeps getting worse over time. When it went with software, there was a point in time when software was delivered on a physical medium, like a compact disc, floppy disks, whatever. It was printed, mass produced, and sold in a physical box at a software store or through mail order or whatever, but you got an actual thing to put in your computer and install the software. And so a mistake was costly because it meant the company would have to re-ship. They still call it shipping software. When they put out a new release, the inside terminology, we're going to ship this new release. They still call it shipping, even though UPS or FedEx or the post office is no longer involved. It's pushing files up to a web server, hitting a button and making it go live. That's shipping. But these terms come from back in the day when they were actually shipping boxes and pallets full of boxes to stores. CompUSA, Best Buy, places like that. And it had to be done right, because if there's a major bug in software that's been shipped out all over the country in boxes, it's going to be very expensive for them to get the updates out to the customers. They're going to have to ship updates to the customers on discs, sometimes for free. So they took a lot more time to test things out, to check the quality. They had entire teams of software testers, people who's hundreds, thousands of people who were paid to test the software, use it, look for problems, look for bugs, listen to the customers. If the customers found a bug with the previous version, documenting those customers' issues and making sure those problems are fixed before you issue a new update. But then came along the internet and high-speed internet connections, which negated the need to having a physical medium to put your software on. And just like a website, if there's a problem with your software, you can push an update out today that fixes it. And it's up to the customers to download the update. Sometimes. A lot of software now will just automatically download the updates for you, unless you specifically go into the settings and turn that off. And in some cases, you might have a legitimate need to do so, but like I have a app called Discord. If you sign up for the members, this channel memberships, we have a private Discord server where we can all chat with each other all day long. And there is a standalone app that you can download to your phone or your computer. Well, the one thing I can't stand about Discord, if it's been 4 hours since I closed the software and open it back up, every single time I open up Discord, I get this spinning ball that says downloading updates. And there's like 15 new updates to the software that it has to download, then it installs, then it closes the software and opens the software back up. This is multiple times a day. Every single time I open the Discord app for any reason, it's downloading 5 minutes worth of software updates to fix the bugs in the software or put some new feature in or whatever they're doing. And it happens every single time I open the app. And it's kind of annoying, but it's the way things are now. You can patch, fix things. How many times does Xbox or the PlayStation release a major game and the game's unplayable and it's broken and it's a complete mess? People are getting mad, throwing fits, posting YouTube videos about how the game sucks. And it's because the company knew it sucked. They knew there were all kinds of problems, but they're like, fuck it, we're going to sell millions of copies of this game today. Put it out now, we'll fix it later. It's embarrassing, it gives them bad press, but they make more money when they put out garbage on time than if they say we're going to take a few more months to fix this before we release it. Some games like Grand Theft Auto are so complex and huge that they may have to add 6 months just to finish the game. But they're not worried about the bugs. When Grand Theft Auto 5, the online version came out where you could play against other people online, it was a complete clusterfuck. It was a disaster when they launched the online version of the game. It didn't work. It was full of bugs. You couldn't play it. And it was weeks before they got that thing stabilized out. But they didn't keep it behind the curtain. They just said, fuck it, we'll release it. Let it be broken. And perfect is the enemy of done, right? It's better to just get it out there than it is to try and make it perfect and then get it out there. And, I can make a case for both situations where it is appropriate to just put it out there and try not to make it perfect, because having something out there is better than having nothing out there. But there are situations where perfectionism is required. Let's take your automobile, for example. I'll talk about bicycles and automobiles, because there are cases for both. So I ride my bicycle a lot. I rode 4,000 miles last year. I've had problems. I mean, you're not going to go on 4,000 miles on a bicycle without having a mechanical problem or some sort of problem. You're not going to go on long. You're going to have problems when you go for a long road trip. You're going to have problems with your car or your vehicle. And sometimes when you're out on a trip and a problem pops up, what's the better solution? To quit, get a tow? If my bicycle broke, do I get on the phone and have somebody come pick me up and cancel my ride? Or is it better to just cobble something together that works, so that I can get where I was going and not have to quit? In a car, sometimes you might have to patch something with duct tape or fix it. Take a coat hanger and put the exhaust pipe back up so that it doesn't drag on the ground, or something. Sometimes you have a hole in your exhaust. You take a piece of sheet metal and some hose clamps and just clamp it around the hole. Seal it. Good enough for now. That'll get me another month or two. Now I can go pick out the exhaust I want and have it done right. But this will get me through the next month or two without having to listen to this loud muffler that's broken. If you have a flat tire in a car, is it better to, do you have to go buy a new tire right now? Or is it going to be better to put a plug in it? Or let's just say you're in a bigger hurry than that and you've got a can of Fix-A-Flat in your car kit. If you can spray some Fix-A-Flat in your car tire and get to your destination and get back home and even drive it for another week without your air leaking out of your tire, and then take it to the tire shop and have it properly patched, is perfect the enemy of done? No. You got it done. You were able to do what you had to do with 30 seconds of Fix-A-Flat going into your tire and temporarily fixing the problem. But it's not the proper solution. It's definitely not perfect. The perfect solution is a new tire. An in-between solution is a patch, proper tire patch. The next one down is a tire plug. The next one down is a can of Fix-A-Flat. So there's different levels of being able to fix a problem that may be appropriate depending on what situation that you're in. Same thing with a bicycle. There was a time I could talk about the bicycle problems I've had on long distance rides all day long and not run out of anything to talk about for hours. But one in particular, I was on my way to Washington, D.C. from Pittsburgh. I was about 75 miles into 350. I had a mishap, dropped my bike. Didn't really crash my bike, but I was trying to mount onto my bike, my foot slipped off the pedal and the bike hit the ground. The end of my handlebar broke off. And so I had special handholds called bar ends on the end of my handlebars. They were like mountain bike handlebars with an extra thing to hold on to and give you more places to put your hands for your grip. Just more hand positions. Well, the end of my handlebars broke off, including that thing. So I had to put that in my backpack, the broken part. And then I had to move my brake levers over, and I had to do some stuff so that I could still ride the bike, because I was out in the middle of nowhere. And so I fixed the bike enough that I could ride it. And I went past a number of bicycle shops on the way to Washington, D.C., but they were either closed. And the one time I passed a bike shop that was open, that I would have been able to do the handlebar swap, I had finally just accepted the fact that my bike was messed up. And it was annoying. I had to hold my hand in one position. The balance was off. The whole thing, it kind of sucked. But I weighed it against the other thing. If I go and get a new handlebar at a bike shop and do the handlebar swap with the tools at the bike shop, it's at least an hour's job. I'm probably going to be getting a 2-hour delay on my day's ride. That could be 20 miles, 20, 25 miles distance that I'm not going to be able to cover today. Plus, getting off the bike and not being on the bike is got my joints, my muscles, my whole body's going to seize up, like rigor mortis is going to set in, so that when I get on the bicycle, it's going to be harder to get started and start moving again. So I might lose 3 hours out of my day's ride to fix the problem. Number two, I'm not going to get the handlebars I want. I'm going to be stuck with whatever selection they have. Whatever they have is what I'm stuck with. Whatever their prices are, I'm stuck with that. Can't shop around. And then time, like I said, I'm going to have to take the bar end off the other one. The grips, that can be a pain. I might need to buy new grips and handlebars. I got to take the shifters off. I got to slide the handlebars off. I got to put the shifters, the grips, the bar ends. I got to put it all back together, tighten it all down, make sure that everything's in the right position, everything's lined up, everything, it's about an hour. Maybe less, but I got to plan on it being at least an hour of labor. And that's if the bike shop's going to be cool enough to let me use their tools. I could probably do it with my own tools that I have with me, but it would be a little bit faster to do it at the shop with, a work stand in a proper space. So I finally just resigned and I rode all the way to DC with a broken handlebar. Came home, put the bike away for, I didn't want to ride my bike for a week or two after that. Before I went on another bike ride, I had already ordered new handlebars that I did some homework. I found handlebars that I was happy with. Found some new bar ends. Found new grips. Basically kind of upgraded my whole front end on the bike, the handlebar cockpit, if you will, the system. And when I put it all back together, I was very happy with it, and I was very glad that I took my time to do it right, perfect, instead of just cobbling it together to be done. And I've been riding those handlebars with that setup to this day on that bike, and I love it, and I'm glad I did it. But I just, I decided to just live with it as it was. There was another time I went on a ride with a friend of mine, and 2 minutes, not even in the parking lot, the chain got caught in my rear derailleur and ripped my rear derailleur right off the back of the bike, just snapped it. Freak occurrence. It was weird. But this friend that I was riding with, it wasn't like we were going on some hardcore ride, so I was going to cobble together a fix. But there are all these bike shops in town. There were 3. We went to all 3 bicycle shops in the town. None of them had a rear derailleur that would be the equivalent of what would go on my bike. They would all be junk compared to what I had. So I was like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. One of the bike shops had rental bikes. And the guy was super cool. He was just like, look, man, he's like, you just want to go out for a ride with your friend, take one of my bikes. He's like, I'll just give you one. Didn't charge me or anything. Free. He just goes, here, take one of these bikes. Just leave your bike here as collateral. It was a nice bike. It was a nice mountain bike. So, you know, it was worth way more than the rental bike. So he was like, no, man, come on back and blah, blah, blah. He was like, whatever, dude. It wasn't like we were going to be gone more than an hour or 2. So we went on our ride. Came back. Thanked the guy for letting me borrow his bike. I bought something from him. I'm sure I spent money at the bike shop on whatever I could find that I could use, just as a courtesy of thank you for letting me do that. And we're walking back to our car. And I'm walking my broken bike with me. And these 2 kids, not kids, but they were in their like 20s. They were riding up the hill. And all of a sudden I heard crunch. And on the back of the guy's bicycle, his derailleur was wrapped around his back wheel. The exact same way mine had just broke earlier that day. Wild, the coincidence there. And dude, they were freaking out. And they looked at me, and one of them said, oh my God, we're so screwed. We have to go 20 miles back down the bike trail to get back home. We were in Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania. They had to go back to Connellsville, I think. Okay, so if you're from that area, you know. It's a bit of a ride. And they were thinking maybe they would have to call somebody to come and get them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hold on, dude. Like, I got you. So I already had the tools in my pocket. So I showed him my bike. I'm like, look at my bike. It's just happened to me today. So I told him, I'm like, I'll get you home. I'm just going to do something here that's going to get you home. But, don't go crazy. Don't ride too fast. Just, you'll get there. You'll be able to go 10 miles an hour. You'll be able to get there in an hour or 2. 10, 15 miles an hour you're going to be able to go. And it's flat. It's slightly downhill from there. So you're fine. Just don't get up out of the seat and just start wrenching down with full force on the pedals, because you might have problems. And so what I did was took the derailleur off the bike, pulled the cable out, just kind of taped or put the cable somewhere where it wasn't going to get in the way. Maybe I just pulled it off completely and the housings. And then I shortened the chain, and I wrapped the chain around the big chain wheel up front. And then I wrapped it around one of the middle cogs on the back cassette. And then I tied the chain to get back together at the link where it was going to be pretty tight. So I made sure that there was enough. I basically set it up like a track bike where there's no derailleur on the back, or a single speed, or a fixed gear bike, or like a BMX bike where the chain just goes around one cog and one chain wheel up front. But a bike like that, the frame is not designed, the wheel doesn't slide back and forth to put tension on the chain properly. So what I told him, and I showed him what to do, and I showed it to him. Like I said, if the chain falls off the cog, the cassette, but it's not broken, you just get off the bike, wrap it around the cog that you can get it on hand tight. Then I showed him how to nudge the chain onto one more cog so that it would tighten up the chain a little bit. And now your chain is going to be wrapped around that cog and that cassette up front. and it's probably going to be fine. It's probably going to last you all the way home. In fact, I didn't think they were going to have a problem. That's what I was about to do to my bike so that I could go on the ride with my friend and just cruise with one gear. And just, I don't need to shift. I mean, this wasn't like we were racing. We were just out for a joyride. So it would have been fine. It would have been a few minutes of me screwing around. And I was pissed because that derailleur was probably going to cost me $200 to replace or more. It was a top, it was a Shimano XTR derailleur. It wasn't like a cheapie. I ended up getting one on Craigslist for like $150, but so it would have been like $300 new maybe. Either way, I got the thing fixed, but that was a perfect is the enemy of done situation. You can fix this thing and actually go on a ride and get it done, or you can just cry about it, put your bike back on the rack and drive home and don't go on a bike ride. Which one do you want to do? I decided to do, well, I was planning on doing the one that would let us go on a bike ride. But since there were bike shops in town, I thought maybe it's a quick job to switch the derailleur out. I thought maybe I could just do that. But no, I couldn't. It wasn't going to happen that day. So, but we made it work. And a little bit of luck came into play as well. So, these are just different situations where you got to decide, is perfect the enemy of done? Cleaning your house. I had a surprise visit come to my house where I had a day's notice that somebody was coming over. And my house was trashed. I've been neglecting my chores little by little, and it starts to accumulate after some time. And so I knew somebody's coming over tomorrow. And I know that in order to get my house perfect, I would need to take a week off from doing any work and just focus on cleaning my house. Even though my house is small. And what I mean by perfect is that everything in the house is organized and sorted out. Every little bag that has something in it has been gone through, sorted out, gotten rid of things I don't want to keep anymore. All the papers in my desk drawers are sorted and put into their proper files in a filing cabinet and things like that. And, perfect. But I had a night to make that happen. And so, what was my option? Do a perfect job and get to the point where tomorrow gets here and there's dirty dishes in the sink and there's, the floor hasn't been mopped and there's dirty clothes laying around and there's all this stuff. But I got all my papers out of my desk drawers sorted and put away in the proper folders because I'm chasing after perfection. So I'm focusing on these tiny little details. And after a day goes by, it doesn't really look like I did anything. Or do I have to sacrifice perfect and just do the things that would make the highest impact? All the dirty dishes done, dusting, making sure that the bed's made, that all the clothes are put away, all the clean clothes are out of out of the basket and put away and organized and folded, and everything that you would notice when you walk in the door, that's done. But I had a stack of papers on my desk. What do I do with that? Put it in the desk drawer, out of sight, out of mind. I had other piles of things. I had a pile of stuff on my workbench. Just random stuff. Threw it in a box. Put the box away. I know where the stuff is because I threw it all in a box. But perfect is the enemy of done. If I had tried to focus on perfection the next day when I got my surprise visitor, it would have been a disaster. The place would have looked trash, but I would have been like, look at my paperwork. I've got all my papers in the proper file folders in my little file box, and it's all sorted out and proper and everything. I know exactly where every little important document is located. But I got a pile of dirty clothes on the floor of my bathroom that didn't get washed. I've got my bed's not made. Things like that. So it is kind of like the little kid cleaning their room. They'll take all the toys, throw them in a box, and shove it under the bed. Or shove it all under the bed and then make the bed so that the blanket hangs down to the floor. Hoping that mom isn't going to come in and lift up the blanket and see that there's just a big fucking mess under the bed. Perfect is the enemy of done. But there's times where you do have to be perfect, or it's kind of like we don't know. Another example is Elon Musk owns SpaceX, the privately owned rocket ship company, and he's pretty much taken over NASA. NASA is what the government does. Okay, so let's talk about infrastructure, right? If you're going to build a bridge over a river, you need to be reasonably sure that that bridge isn't going to collapse when people are walking and driving across it 6 months after it's built, right? So perfect is not the enemy of done in that situation. Perfect is necessary. And so there's a process that you go through to make sure, to the best of your ability, that when that bridge is built, it's not just going to fall into the river with people driving across it and people walking across it and everybody's going to die. And it was like that with NASA when they were building rocket ships and stuff. Now, granted, sometimes they did blow up and sometimes people did die. But NASA will take 10, 12 years from the design of a space shuttle or whatever to getting one to go up into space. Because they feel like it has to be done right the first time, and before we put a person in it, before we even launch the thing, it has to be as perfect as we can make it. Well, Elon Musk came from the software industry, and he runs SpaceX pretty much just like the software industry runs, where they just cobble stuff together and see if it works. That's why Elon Musk blew up so many rockets, because they would build a rocket super fast and not be worried about it. Launch it, boom. Then they're like, okay, why did it blow up? Let's take everything that we learned from that rocket ship blowing up and apply it to the next rocket. Now maybe he launches 2 or 3 and then all of a sudden, boom, another one blows up. All right, let's see what we learned from that one blowing up. Try to fix our mistakes. Launch another one. Now, they did wait a while before putting people on them till they were reasonably sure that they could launch a rocket without blowing people up in it. But they took a whole different approach. They didn't care about blowing up one rocket after the next, after the next, after the next, to learn as they go. It's the same approach with software. Launch a piece of software. It's full of bugs. Let customers get mad about it, tell you the bugs, then you go in and fix them. Make your product better. That's how Elon Musk runs the rocket company. But what if Ford built cars like that? And maybe they got a bad gas tank. And maybe 20 different families were burned alive because the gas tank blew up. And Ford, they would just sweep that under the rug and try to pretend it never happened, and try to settle out of court, keep it out of the news and whatnot. But would they bother going back to fix the problem unless they were forced to? Probably not. They don't care that much. And better luck next time, right? So when a company like Ford builds a car, they need to be reasonably sure that they did everything in their power that the car's not going to blow up and kill everybody inside of it before they release it to the public. They just can't cobble together a car, watch a bunch of people die because the car was defective, and then go, oh, we learned a lot from that situation. Next time we'll do a better job. So when you're making a decision in your life about whether perfect is the enemy of done, these are the kinds of things you got to weigh back and forth, because it's not like one answer is correct and the other one's wrong. I think it depends a lot on your situation. YouTube. This will be the last one before I take off. I'm going to be walking home in the dark today, but I did get a late start. When it comes to perfect is the enemy of done, I was going to start a YouTube channel 5 or 6 times in the past. And I got to the point where I had a little recording studio in my house, in my office, with a proper backdrop and lighting, professional camera gear, multiple camera angles, backdrops, all real nice stuff. And I even went to the point of shooting video and editing video and doing all the work. And then I would sit there and watch it and be like, nah, this isn't perfect. I can't release this. I can't put this up. This isn't going to do well. I don't think I could do. I think I have to do a totally different thing. And I would just kind of like throw it away and not do it. And I did this 4 or 5 times over the course of a few years, and I would just not live with it. I would just not want to do it. It's not perfect, so I'm not going to put it out there. I would put 40 hours in putting a video together and then say, nah, I'm not going to do it. I don't think anybody's going to like it. It's not perfect. It's not good enough. It's not as good as I could do. I could do better. And then I went to federal prison for a Twitter post. And then I was thrown out into the street to be homeless from there, as soon as I came home. And I'm sitting in the park and I've got a phone that somebody gave me. Fuck it. Why not? And just like I'm doing right now, I sat on a bench with nothing to say, no idea what I was going to say, just holding my phone in front of my face with my hand, saying, I'm just going to do whatever. And I'm just going to start posting videos and see what happens. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea how long it's going to be. I have no idea how this is going to work out, if anybody's going to see it, if I'm yelling into a black hole, whatever. But I just did it. Even this video today, all the videos I do are way beneath the quality that I'm capable of. But I also know that if I put in the quality that I'm capable of, I could spend 100 hours to do a 15-minute video. If I put all the graphics in and all the fine editing and sound production and lighting and everything that, at what point do you just say enough's enough and just do it? Do I do 100 hours worth of effort to make a 15-minute video that's very tight and well done and, like Mr. Beast quality stuff, you know what I'm saying? Or do I just continue being a guy sitting on a bench just talking to you guys? Because I can get those done. I can get that up there. I can get that so that you can watch it. And I can do that today. So neither one of those is a bad idea. I guarantee you if I started putting 100 hours in on 15-minute videos at a time, you obviously won't see as many videos coming out, but the quality will be top-notch. And there will be a certain set of people that will respond to that and be impressed by it. And, and I'll get a whole different audience for doing that. But is it genuine? A lot of people just appreciate these kind of videos nowadays where it's just some dude sitting on a bench or some chick sitting in a car or somebody sitting at a desk talking. Keeping it real. And so with that, there's probably a lot more that I can say about this subject. If you've been watching this channel, I can pick a topic and go for 4 hours on it without saying the same thing twice. But right now, perfect is the enemy of done. But light right now is the enemy of me because I got to get home. So I'm going to say peace out for now, and thanks for hanging out. And that's that.